And then I said, Geraldo, like, we are never getting back together. Like, ever. Hey guys, welcome to the video. I thought it'd be cool to do like a talk intro instead of singing. And obviously, if you know the song, you know the song. But I want to talk about, people know I've been sleeving my collection for a while now. This is just Spice World, really good movie. But people know I've been really storing them in these plastic sleeves, you know, I believe they're called Djois or Tarifold or something. I buy them myself, I don't get them from anyone, they're not supplied, they're not sponsored or anything. I'm just saying that I buy these and I put them in these sort of plastic things, because I got it from Cereal at Midnight. I understood when I watched his video, I got this from Cereal at Midnight. And then I've really been enjoying this method. So I want to talk about how it's holding up after a couple of months, because people know I've done it recently. But also what I want to show is I want to show these things from, I think I get it from Officeworks somewhere. They're like paper envelopes. So they're kind of like them. I'm not getting sponsored for them either. I'm just saying that I use these for the discs, so they're not moving around actively in there. I want to show you how they're holding up after a couple of months, because I know a lot of people have questions about this method. Does it damage the discs? Is paper going to seep into the discs and like ruin the discs because, you know, it might be acid free or might not be acid free? We don't know what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the disc, and then I'm also going to show you a Blu-ray one so that you can get a sense. So there's Spice World. It is contained in there pretty good, but I will get it out of there and we can have a quick look at it. I'm going to take it out very carefully because I don't like handling the disc once it's in these things. I like to leave it in there so that it's always good. There's the back of the disc. And the back of the disc looks like it did when I put it in there. No new scratches, nothing. It looks the exact same as it did when I put it in there. So yeah, I can say right now this method is working. And it's worked before because I have tested this method before of putting them in these paper sleeves from Officeworks. I have tested it before. I've done it for many years with my original collection. I've never had it scratch from it. I've never had acid seep into the disc. So it always works for me. This has always worked. But how does it hold up when I do Blu-rays? Because that's the question a lot of you have when I use this method. Is the method for storing these things, like obviously let's look at the cover while I've got the disc out of there. This cover could easily be put back into a plastic bigger cover if I needed to. Like the spine's still there. I've made sure there's fold right on the back spine. The front spine is a bit folded down because I've made it that way. But also if I needed to put it back into its case or into a case, the spine comes right back to life at the moment I put it back into a case. So no damage to the actual artwork, no loss of colorization, no fading, nothing that would tell me that this is damaging the artwork, and also nothing telling me that it's damaging the disc. So there. I'll put it back in this thing. I always handle it also very carefully when I put it in these things, you know, I'm always making sure that A, is this good for long term? B, have I tested it before? In the case of the envelopes, I've tested it before. I've tested it way back when I put my original collection in these envelopes, so I know it works. But, you know, a lot of people say, oh, but did you make sure it's acid-free? I think a lot of the things are just acid-free these days. I've never actually had an issue with storing them in here. I have had an issue, however, storing them in, where's the things here? I'll see if I can find one. There's a couple down behind the screen. These aren't the exact ones that damage the thing, but I'll show you one example. Let me just put that Spice World back where it belongs, and then I'll tell you something, because I like to put it back where it belongs. So, I have, however, had an issue with stuff like this. Let me grab them. These kind of, like, case things. Now, these... I've got an original PlayStation one there, too. That's pretty cool. So, I have had an issue with putting them in plastic like this and having, like, the cloth back or even the plastic back. I've had an issue with scratches with these. Why? Because these aren't really built for long term. These are built for like short term if you're just taking them across to a friend's place or whatever. What I've had happen is the imprint of the cloth or even the imprint of the plastic in here imprint onto the disc itself. And it's always been an issue. It's always been kind of an issue where these sort of things I don't trust anymore. I haven't trusted these since it ruined a couple of my other discs. And they still play. In all fairness, they still play. It just, the back of the disc doesn't look as neat as it should. And no matter how much isopropyl you use on it, it's never going to clean that set in because it's like almost printed onto the disc now. So I don't trust these things. No matter how much people stand by them. This might be the plastic one I was talking about. Yeah, so this one's a bit more forgiving, but also this one, this was more for ripped Blu-rays and DVDs when I was ripping back in the day. When I was doing my thing and we all like had DVD burners, or like, what is it called? The ones where you record off TV, DVD R's or whatever. It's connected up to the TV, you'd record TV. It's like video players used to be, except you do it to disc. DVD R's, what are they called? DVD recorders. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't trust these things. I trust the paper method rather than this. And when we're looking about space, because people say, I would never fold down my collection. That is sacrilege. I would never do it. At the end of the day, it's about space. Space is a commodity. And I've said this when I was folding down the video, I was folding down the things, and I said it in the video at the time. Space is a commodity. You've got to look at the space it takes up. I was taking up, let me just show you where the bookcases were, even though they're all gone now. I was taking up all of this all the way around, and then I also had stuff in the center, and I had stuff behind the door. That is just too much. The footprint was too large. I had to do something. I could not collect another disc until I got rid of some or folded them down. Now in this case, I chose to fold them down because I still like my archive, and I wanted it available to me. I really wanted it available to me. So I folded them down, and here's how the Blu-rays are holding up, because I haven't actually looked at one of these yet. Now I have replaced Back to the Future with the 4K, so we'll just take this one. This one's been in here from, I think I did the sci-fi section very early, or this would have been Blu-ray replaced, so I would have done the replaced Blu-rays earlier. So what I mean by this is, if I replaced them with 4K, I obviously put them in a box called Replaced by 4K. So this was more of the, hey, just in case something I don't like with the 4K, I'm sure Terminator would be in here. Let me just check. I have the Godfather in here, but I'm sure the Terminator would be in here somewhere, you know? Because I would have folded down the Terminator, I would have kept it, because it's like, who knows what could go wrong. But I want to show you, like, obviously I'll show the artwork as well. These are just the Blu-ray ones. So they have different things, the Djois Tarifold, whatever they're called. They have the Blu-ray ones, and they also have the DVD ones, and they have CD ones. You can get any size you really want. I've done it with the CD collection as well. I'll give you an example of the CD one if I can get one out. I'll just get Christina Aguilera. Gotta get naughty, gotta get a little more moody, get right up in a hurry, gotta get dirty, it's about time. I don't know all the words. But yes, Christina Aguilera. You can see that it works with CDs as well. I've got the paper envelope in there, works great. You know, it works, one size fits all with these paper envelopes. So yeah, I'm not getting sponsored, I'm just saying that, yeah, this is the method I've taken, and you don't have to agree with it, but I'm showing why I took this method and justifying it. If I can put this Christina Aguilera thing back where it belongs, I'll show you why. This is one of the first ones I put into these, the Djois Tarifold, whatever they call themselves, things. I'll note no loss of color on the artwork. This has been in there for about 6 months to maybe 9 months now, 10 months. I started doing this a while back, and no coloration loss. I also store them in boxes out of the sunlight, so obviously I'm not putting them in direct sunlight. I obviously put a lid back on this when I'm done with it. I obviously put a lid. It's folded down very well. They all fit in these boxes, and then they're covered over, so direct sunlight is not hitting. But how does the Blu-ray hold up in these things? Because the Blu-ray is different to a DVD. And I haven't actually looked at this other than, I looked at it with my original collection. When I get it out of here, that's as pristine as the time when I put it in there. There's not a scratch, there's nothing on it. There's not a scratch, there's not even a smudge on it. So this tells me these are acid-free, or like they're good for long-term storage. I mean, it's been 10 months now. If I was going to see any sort of damage on here, I would say by now. It would be seeping in. You might say, oh, but moisture can get into it and it can affect everything. We'd store it in a moisture-free environment. That's very easy solved. You know, when you're looking after it and you're looking at long-term methods, this is how I do it. But this is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about this because this is important. When I look at this collection, and when I look at my method for storing these, obviously when I put it in here, what I'm doing, I'll just show you. So I obviously put the artwork in first. I put that in number 1. That always goes in number 1. Put that in there. And then what I do is there's a nice place in the center of the artwork so that I can still see the back artwork. I can still see the front artwork. Usually the center has nothing on it. Now, in cases where there might be episode listings or stuff or whatever, I would still put it like this, but then I can always see that the stuff inside. So if I do want to get it out when I watch it, I can have access. And this is a really good method, you know, this is actually working. And then I obviously put that in the center so you can see where it's going in the center. Boom. And I fold that down, so try to limit as much air getting into there. Very accessible. It's accessible. So that's holding up. That method is holding up after 10 months. And you might say, but Jamie, it's been 10 months. How do you know from 10 months that this method is going to be working long term? You can't make a judgment in 10 months. There is no way that you would know that this would work in 10 months. Well, let me just have a look here. I want to show you something else. Let me just see if I can find one. Okay, here it is. I've got a box of them. A special box. This contains parts of my original Blu-ray collection from the 2010s. This was folded down before I even started my 4K collection. These were put into here before I even started my 4K collection. So, is it holding up? I can see the artwork still looks great. No real smudging. Here's an older one. Let's see. Obviously, the thing is a bit more worn down, the paper envelope. This is a much older one that doesn't have the thing on the back. So let's see how that one's holding up. I'll see how that one's holding up. And this is what I mean by I've tested the method before. Because people are like, but Jamie, you can't trust a method you've never tested. Let's look how it looks. I remember kind of how this should look. It should look pristine. And look, just straight out of there, not a smudge, not a scratch, nothing. Nothing on that disc. Pristine. Look at that. Look at my nice reflection. But not a smudge on there. Look, not a scratch. And you could wipe it as well. You could wipe it very well if there was a smudge. You know, you could very much like go, okay, bit of dust. Let's get a bit of dust off there. Let's do whatever. Wipe it on a microfiber if you must. But I can tell this is still pristine. I'm just saying there's no loss of colorization on the disc itself. This has been in here for at least probably a decade, or maybe let's be reserved and say maybe, I don't know, 8 years. That's how long this has probably been in there. Not a scratch, not a smudge, no bleeding of acid into there. These I got ages back. And that's what I mean by I tested it before. This is a tested method. It has never produced a scratch for me. It has never... I've never had issues with that. I've had issues with them. I've had issues with these. But I've never had an issue with these paper ones. And so I trust this. Whereas this one, after about a year, I had issues with the disc. Now, obviously, if you've DVD-R'd it, you're not going to have many issues, but I haven't had issues. Now, I don't do this for everything. Obviously, I've got it because my PS2 collection's too big. But for my PS1 collection, I've got them in just like jewel cases or slimmer jewel cases. I don't know where they are. They're down the bottom. But I store them in kind of these sort of things. So I've also got some of these aside. I'm going to show you these as well. If my echo sounds a bit different, it's because I'm going into a corner. So I also got like these sort of things. I bought these before they discontinued them. Just like jewel cases for anything that I think is a bit more precious that might need a tiny bit more space. I do this with the PS1 games. I've done it with some PS2 games. But, you know, some of the more valuable ones I do with this method because, you know, paper, discs, you can also be susceptible to damage. Although, with my PS2 collection, I don't move it that often. I'm not really pulling stuff off the shelf actively. So, I don't really need this method. PS1 as well, I don't really need this method, but I think it helps to have it in these just in case. And especially with a disc of that age. A lot of PS1 games that I have from back in the day, and that's like, I'm talking like early 2000s, late 90s. Some of the PS1 discs are at least 30 years old at this point that I have, and some of them are obviously showing their age. Some of them probably are not going to play beyond a certain area. I know that with Crash Bandicoot, for example, I've got 2 versions of Crash Bandicoot. I have to swap out, there's a level that doesn't work on one disc, but it works on the other disc. But the forgiving nature of a PS1 is that you can take the disc out when it's loading or before you hit the thing, put the other disc in, it'll read back where it is, shut the lid. Typically, as soon as you hit play on that, you can obviously play that. And I used to do that method all the time, you know? I used to do that method a lot. And I think when you start looking at the overall, when you start looking at how to store your stuff, now not everyone's going to use paper envelopes. Not everyone's going to use them. I admit, not everyone's going to use them. But that's where you get things like this. You can go with jewel cases. These will fit into there perfectly. They will fit in pretty nicely. If you did need to use that method, they would fit in pretty nicely. They would fit into there. You know, they would fit nicely. But not everyone's going to use any method. They'll say, oh, I want to keep it with the original artwork. Cool. Everyone is individual. But space is a commodity. And I wanted to show that because I wanted to show you how it's holding up after a year. So What did you think of this video? Did you take anything away from it? Have you been taking the same method, or have you been looking at the space your collection takes up? Let me know in the comments, guys, because I'm really interested to know if you're seeing storage issues. And go and watch my end screens. I'll put a couple of relevant end screens, maybe me folding down the collection. Maybe that could be interesting. I'll fold down, oh, no, I'll fold down a couple, but I'll show you some of the videos I made about it, and you can go and watch everything here. And let me know what you think. Are you looking at methods to store your media in a much smaller space, or are you happy with just plastic spaces taking up everything? Let me know. Peace.